Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, on Tuesday, January 21st, right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, coming to you on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation, our Facebook page at the Rock Health and Wellness Centers, YouTube at Health from the Rock, and X at Jason Clemmons, DC. You can also catch us at the Walk by Faith Facebook page as well. So, and you can stream us on 987radio.com. We're all over the world. Hope you guys had a great day. Hope your day went your way. Hope you enjoyed last night's show. If you got to watch it, we took health to church last night like we do on Monday nights. I really do love that series that they're doing right now. We took step 3, and we've got about 4 or 5 slides to finish with that, and we will do that tonight. And we'll get those slides covered and finish that up because I really do think it's really cool. And then got several things that I want to talk about tonight. One of them is this immune system thing that's going on with a lot of people dealing with flu and or COVID and all that sort of thing. And so I just want to highlight some things that we can take, such as vitamin D, and remind you of the conversation that I've listened to again today about the positive effects of that. So we're going to get into some immune system support right here. That's one thing. And another thing is, with RFK Jr. joining the battle of wellness and actually having some authority to do something about it, it's kind of cool to start to point out some of these things. So one of the things that I want to point out tonight is sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate. You may have never heard of it, but we're going to point it out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what foods that are in. I'm going to read you an article about what it does to our little kids. So you might be really interested in that as well. So if you have any questions for us, send me a text. 806-794-0400 is our text line. 806-794-0400. And I'd be glad to answer your questions either on the air or after the show. I'd be glad to do that either way. Or you can send me a message on any of the social media pages, and we'll answer your questions there. So let's finish up because we've got a lot of stuff we could talk about tonight. Let's finish up with last night's show of, let me pull this up here. We were taking health to church. And if you're new to the show, just make sure, just so you understand what we do with this, we take the lesson from Sunday's sermon at Hillside Church here in Lubbock, and we apply that lesson on Monday night as we do each Monday night in what we call taking health to church. So I think it's great because I think there's a lot of parallels between your health and what you're learning spiritually. You're growing spiritually and you're growing from a health standpoint. In reality, those two things are actually the same, but I deal with it from the health part of it. So we want to look at it from the health standpoint, and then we want to bring it over. So just to back up just a touch, because let me see here. Just to kind of give you a little bit of let me just what the lesson last night got into 3 types of darkness: darkness of ignorance, darkness of guilt, and darkness of fear. Okay, and then what we ended last night on a slide that said it was basically Saul's conversion to Paul on the road to Damascus. And he was telling the story. He was telling the king the story. And he was going through this, and he was like, look, I just saw this light from heaven, brighter than the sun, blazing around me and my companions. We all fell to the ground, and I heard a voice saying to me in Aramaic, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Is it hard for you to kick against the goads? And then it went to the next part, and it basically is Jesus telling Saul, you're going to go from a despicable human being in 1 second to one of the most trusted human beings that's ever walked the earth. I think that's crazy. I mean, if you really think about it, like you're just being a punk. I mean, Saul was a punk, man. He just went from town to town looking for Christians, throwing them in jail, beating them, crucifying them, all these things. And with the king, he had the king on his back, right? And then all of a sudden, Jesus showed up and everything changed. And I just think that is so cool. I think this story is so cool from a standpoint that that's the same exact thing that can happen in health. You can just be making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. You can just be living a life of gluttony. You can be living a life of processed foods. You can be living a life of no purpose whatsoever. And in one split second, you can just see the light. Like you could just see the light, this bright light that's shining. You could see it in one split second. It's a great scene if you guys have ever seen Field of Dreams. You guys remember Field of Dreams, that movie. I mean, that was a great scene in Field of Dreams where he was, where the brother-in-law was coming to and telling Ray, you got to sell the farm, Ray. I mean, y'all remember that? And they're in the middle of watching the ball game. And the brother-in-law's like, you got to sell the farm. You're going to lose the farm. And then the little girl falls off the back. I've talked about it before. The little girl falls off the back of the bleachers and she chokes on the hot dog. And then the old doc, Moonlight Graham, walks off of the field and crosses the line. And all of a sudden he's old Doc Graham again. And he keeps the girl from choking. And in 1 second, all of a sudden the brother-in-law looked around and he was like, well, where'd all these people come from? He's like, do not sell this farm, Ray. Like it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring illustration that happens over and over and over in so many different times. And it's a recurring illustration right there. It started with this whole transformation of Saul to Paul, who wrote half of the New Testament, who was one of the most trusted people that God had. He's like, listen, this is what Jesus told him. Jesus is like, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It's like, stop it. Now get up and stand on your feet. I have appeared to you to appoint you as a servant and as a witness of what you have seen in me and what I show you. Like the brother-in-law. The brother-in-law did not understand the game. He didn't understand anything. They were trying to tell him. He wouldn't see it. And then all of a sudden he saw it and he was like, okay, I'll be a witness. It's like if you'll study what actually happened to Paul in his life, and you think to yourself, why would a dude do that? Why would he take all of that punishment after this point on the road to Damascus? Why would he take all of this punishment, get thrown in jail, get flogged, get all this tragic stuff happen to him, and just keep going back for more, and just keep going back for more? What could possibly be that important for a person to do that? Like these apostles all ended up pretty much that same way, right? How could something be that important to them where it's just like, I'm just going to keep, I'm sorry, but you guys don't see it. You don't see the light. I'm just going to keep shining the light for you, right? Health and wellness is the same way. Once you start to make that transformation over, now you are a light. You are a witness of what you have seen and what I will show you. That's what the scripture says. It's like, oh, wow, really? That's why when I was talking to Ken on Monday, and he was saying, I don't understand. Like, I don't think people would believe you if you told them you only had one Tylenol in the last 25 years this March. And I'm like, they probably wouldn't. How many people did Paul tell? I'll tell you, I'm fixing to show you in the next slide or two, one of them that he told you, right? And then the scripture goes on to say, I will rescue you from your own people and from the Gentiles. I am sending you to them to open their eyes. The brother-in-law couldn't see the game. He had his eyes opened, right? That's what old Doc Moonlight Graham was doing. Old Doc Graham opened the eyes of that brother-in-law, that moment, right? Open their eyes and turn them from darkness to light. Turn them from death to life. That's the thing. And from the powers of Satan to God, so that they may receive forgiveness of sins and place among those who are sanctified by faith in me. Okay, so he's telling King Agrippa this whole thing, right? Because he's like, dude, you're not going to believe what happened to me on this road. And King, you got to imagine, King Agrippa, first of all, he's got some power, right? And he's like, boy, I've known you for a long time. What in the world are you talking about? I'm the one that allowed you to go out here and do all this stuff. And now you're going to show up and you're going to tell me you're going to tell me this cockamamie story, and you think I'm going to believe this thing that you saw? And the scripture says, do you think in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian? Are you kidding yourself? Yeah, that's what King Agrippa did, right? He ignored, neglected, downplayed, rejected, or twisted up the message that he received. And in a health and wellness standpoint, don't we do that a lot? Don't we hear something and we finally know the truth, we finally hear the truth, and then we just reject it? We just reject it, right? We just reject the truth. How many, look at your shopping cart next time you go to the grocery store. Just look and see what's in your shopping cart. Are you rejecting the truth? Are you rejecting the truth of health? I think a lot of us do that. We do that on a daily basis, right? And I'm going to show you some stuff about that too. So people do it every day when you talk to them about health. They listen to what you say, and then they just immediately go out and just do unhealthy things. And I think it's because they haven't really defined their why and their purpose. But I'm not going to get into that tonight. You can go back and watch last night's show, and that'll tell you. So, and then there's this fear, right? So we've got this darkness of guilt, and then we've got this darkness of fear. Because what if we're not good enough? What if we've already screwed it up too bad? What if we just don't know what to do? Like what if all of these things are happening? And I'm telling you, I've seen it actually happen in health and wellness. I've seen us get so bad that we can't turn it back. I had this conversation with one of my ladies today. We had the conversation, is there a time when you can actually get so bad that you can't turn it back? And I think it is. It's going to take a massive miracle to turn it back. I saw it in my dad, and I saw it in my father-in-law. Both of those people I saw pass away. They got to a point where neurologically they couldn't turn it back. They were gone too far. But a lot of us, we have this fear of that, right? So what the scripture says, Jesus said, this is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but men love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light. Yeah, everyone who loves Dr. Pepper hates the fact that it's full of things that are not good for you. Like if you love Dr. Pepper, you're just going to keep going after it, right? And you're going to ignore or reject or downplay. It's not that bad. Or just one a day. It's not that bad. It's not really that bad. It's not that bad for my kids. It doesn't, you guys all you health people, y'all make some big deal out of this. It doesn't make any difference. The kids can drink Dr. Peppers. But it's not, what is it to them, right? I'm going to show you here in just a second. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. Now that's a thing. That's a thing. We don't want to tell anybody. We'll eat the chocolate in secret, but we don't want it to come out into the light and be exposed, right? But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what he has done has been done through God. If when we get into the truth, now it's like, okay, just lay it out there. Lay it out there for the whole world to see. Just look, I've laid it out there, and I'm repenting, and I am cleansing my ways, and I'm going about a new life of light, right? Don't be fearful to leave your ways that you don't be fearful to leave your ways that lead to death, and to make choices that bring health to yourselves. It is a better game than you're playing. If I wish someone 20 years ago would have grabbed me by the shirt collar and shook the crap out of me and got my attention. And I don't. And it's so funny. I grew up in a house of a guy that was kind of intense. My high school football coach was rather intense. My college football coach was a tyrant. He was very intense. I grew from the age of birth to 22 years old, 23, I guess. 23 is when I played in my last football game. Yep, played in the Sun Bowl in 1993 against Oklahoma. Got killed, by the way. But that was my last football game right there. From birth to 23, if you really wanted to get my attention, you could get it with high levels of intensity right there. And then all of a sudden, when I graduated, and after that 1993 football game, and I stepped away from football, I never had anybody that grabbed me by my shirt and got my attention. I just started coasting. I just started being allowed to do whatever I wanted to do. I wasn't mandated to do the things that I was supposed to do, and I didn't have the discipline to do it. And so what happened to my weight? 198 pounds. 198 pounds when I went to the Sun Bowl in 1993 to 283 pounds when I went to my 30-year high school reunion in 2019. So you just look at that time frame. What happened? Health went away. Why? Because I didn't have the discipline to put it out there, to follow the truth, to really do that. Why I didn't do that, I have no idea, other than maybe the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things that I do, I don't want to do. Maybe this foolish scripture that is real. maybe there's some teaching in this book that is actually real. I think maybe it is, right? So whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, right? Conviction is the light of the gospel exposing the darkness of ignorance, guilt, and fear. Conviction. You just get convicted of something. You just like, there you go. You got to get mad enough about something. That's my experience. You intelligent people, if you're watching the show and you're super intelligent, if you're one of those people who are very mature and very intelligent, you probably don't need to get that angry. If you're like myself, if you're like myself and maybe you're not so intelligent and you're not so mature, then maybe it takes a little bit of anger. Maybe it takes a high level of conviction. That's the light. I determined. Let me ask y'all a question. I wasn't going to bring this up last night, but this is the reason that I quit eating sugar, is because I thought Fauci had something to do with that Wuhan virus that started in America and ended over there in Wuhan. I wish everybody quit calling it the China virus, because it didn't start in China. It was worked on in America. It was a collaboration between people here and people there all together, right? So, and that's factual, and you know it. And if you don't know it, you should study it a little bit, okay? So, why would President Biden, on his last 10 minutes in office, pardon Dr. Fauci? If Dr. Fauci didn't do anything wrong, why would he need a pardon? Why would he need a pardon if he's completely innocent? I don't buy that at all, right? So that was, I've been studying that since since COVID hit. So when I finally put those two things together in my brain, as immature as it is and as unintelligent as it may be, that's what convicted me. It was like, no, you're not going to win. You're not going to kill me. You're not going to win this game. I'm going to win this game. You're not going to win. You're not going to hang around in my gut and use those neuropod cells and feed my brain and keep telling my brain that I need to eat more carbohydrates. You're not going to do that. Nope, you're not going to do it. And I'll tell you what happened. It's been so awesome. It's been so awesome because the conviction, just being convicted enough to stop eating sugar, is like a light into my brain. It's like a light it's like, wow, like I actually can do that? Like, that's very interesting. I mean, that's really interesting. I'm on my 5th day now. I did 3 days last week and 2 days today, and I hadn't had breakfast or lunch. I just wait till supper and eat. I've already lost 5 pounds. That's amazing, right? It's like, where did I get the discipline? You're talking to a chubby guy. Like, I'm husky, right? I got husky pants my whole entire life. I'm one of those guys that's like, never seen himself as a thin person, because I'm not thin, but I never have seen, maybe I was thin in 1987 or something like that. But I'm one of those people that believes that you ought to eat. But right now, in the middle of the winter, I'm doing a little experiment to see if I can do it. And it took just a little bit of conviction to get me past a couple little hunger pains, just because I just want to see for myself. I'm not recommending it for you. I just want to see for myself what happens. I want to see if I have the ability to just eat one meal a day. So it close my window down of time that I eat, because I hear people talk about it. So I just want to see it for myself. But being convicted to do that shines the light of this, just like is the light of the gospel, and it exposes the darkness of ignorance. You lose that. It's like, wow, I'm starting to see things better. And I think you can too. I am so certain that you can too, that I will just be on the radio 5 nights a week talking to you about it. Do you know how much, do you really, like, seriously, there's nobody else in the building. I'm sitting here by myself. I'm sitting here right in front of my computer by myself. This is a live radio show. This is a live thing. You're going to watch TikTok, or not TikTok, you're going to watch Instagram or YouTube or whatever for the rest of the night, and you're going to see video after video after video after video that is staged with a whole crew, special lights, special cameras, editing software. They did it, and then they went through all of this time, and then they presented it to you out there. You're going to see all of this professionalism in this. And so when you're a person and you are running a show like this with that has zero that has zero professionalism in it, do you realize how much exposure you get from that? You know how many people look at your show and say, this boy's an idiot. Like, this thing right here is an idiot. But I'll tell you what, I've got some conviction in this thing. I think I'm shining some light into somebody's life. I really do. I think maybe you that are listening to this show, maybe it helps you. Maybe it helps your children. Maybe your children live a healthier life just because you spent enough time just to listen to this show. Maybe your spouse gets healthier just because we're sharing some of this stuff, right? We're just the conviction gets rid of this ignorance, guilt, and fear. What about fear? Like, I'm too scared to do it. I don't want to expose myself to this level of ridicule, to this people just turn off the show, just don't watch the show, all that sort of thing, right? It just goes away. It goes away, and it's so liberating. It's so free. It's so free to just say, man, well, from a health standpoint, I'm actually pretty congruent right now. I'm more congruent than I've been in my entire life right now. And it's like, hey, let's get going, right? A convicted heart always comes before a changed heart. Make that conviction, set your purpose, your psychology changes, your thinking changes, then all of a sudden your procedures change, And then your prosperity, however you define it, it's not a money statement. It's your success based on your procedures, right? That's what I'm talking about. I gain understanding from your precepts. Therefore, I hate every wrong path. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. Psalms 119. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. Just living in the light. That's what we're doing, right? Subluxation. Sub means less than. Lux means light. ATION means a place or a station. When you are subluxated, you have interference in your nervous system. When you're subluxated, you're living in a state less than light, right? There you go. And then this last one right here before we get off is, but I tell you the truth. It is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the counselor will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. When he comes, he will convict the world of guilt in regards to sin and righteousness and judgment. In regard to sin, because men do not believe in me. 100% agree. In regards to righteousness, because I am going to the Father where you can no longer see me. And that way I can talk to the Father on your behalf. And then in regard to judgment, because the prince of this world now stands condemned. That's John 16, 7 through 11. The Holy Spirit won't leave us alone. So we finished it. You got to stick around. When we get back, I hope that was good. I hope you liked that. And if it helped you, fantastic. It's helped me a bunch. When we get back, we're going to talk about this flu thing that's going on and what some of the things you might can do. And then we're going to talk about a food additive that you might not know anything about. So stick around. We'll be right back right after these messages. I'm not really a political person. I love Democrat people and Republican people. And I don't think all the Republicans are right. And I don't think all the Democrats are wrong and vice versa. Um, I'm not that kind of guy. Um, but it does say things to me when you pardon a guy like that. I think what we went through was unnecessary to go through. I still don't know why we had to go through it. I don't really understand it from a complete standpoint. I've studied it. I've read the book. I've read Rand Paul's Deception book. I've read RFK's The Real Dr. Fauci book. I've listened to Judy Mikovits talk about it way back before it even started. I listened to her talk about it. You guys can do all those same things if you're interested in it. And I'm not exactly sure what it was all about. And but I think someone should be held accountable for it. And the boss of all of it should be held accountable for it. And now he got pardoned. And I think the reason he got pardoned is because there's some knowledge that he is responsible for a certain amount of that, regardless of what he's done in his lifetime. That one right there to me was inexcusable, whatever. And I did some math. Everybody's talking about it. We gave President Trump a mandate, and I'm really not trying to get. This is all I'm going to say about it. But I did some math a while ago, and it's 2,284,000 difference between Vice President Harris and President Trump. That's 1.47% difference made the difference in that vote. The country is split, and half the people believe one way and half the people believe the other, and that means half of them will probably turn off my show. But from a wellness standpoint, I think that's funny because that's what we deal with in wellness all the time. We deal with people twisting things to make their point. Right? And you got to be careful of that when you're talking about wellness. And if you catch me doing it, you should call me out on it. You should send me a text or a message or something and say, hey, it seems like you twisted that a little bit, because I don't want to be one of those people either. So, all right, let me get us back on the radio. Hey, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. I hope I was off. I think I did. Yeah. We're back. We just finished up Taking Health to Church. Now, I want to spend the second half of the show talking about two things. Number one, I listened to it again today. I really highly recommend you guys go and listen to it. You can go to YouTube, and it's a conversation about vitamin D, and it's I've talked about it before, and this is with with Dr. David Grimes. It's Dr. John Campbell. You can go to his YouTube channel, and they're guys from England, I believe, and you can listen to it. It's Vitamin D, the Study of Disease. It's a great conversation. It's Dr. Grimes has spent a whole lifetime studying vitamin D, talking about a lot of stuff right there, right? So I was on my way back from Littlefield. I was looking for something to listen to on the way home. I put this on and listened to it again, and I thought it was great. Really, it was. I love it. I probably need to listen to it a lot more, in order to absorb the whole thing. But it's so simple. It's so simple. And one of the things they were talking about that really should convict you one way or the other. But one of the things they were talking about was, it was how it's harder on poorer people that grew up with a disadvantage in the socioeconomic levels to be healthy because of the food supply. And that's what kind of Robert Kennedy's talking about. It's like, look, that it's not the same, right? Robert Kennedy's not really going to affect me, but he might affect somebody that can't spend money on lots of different kinds of food. But one of the simplest things a person could do is make sure that their vitamin D level is proper. And you guys, I've said this 1,000 times, and you're getting tired of it, but it's like you need your vitamin D, especially in the winter, for your immune system. It's vitally important. And what's bringing down your immune system? Refined carbohydrates. It's bringing down your immune system and low levels of vitamin D. I might have mentioned it last week when I was talking about that. They did a study with people from India and people from Poland, I believe, and it was to look and see who was getting. I think it was tuberculosis. Who was getting tuberculosis? And the poor people in Poland had to work in the factories, meaning they worked inside. The rich people in Poland had a chance to get outside and have gardens and all that sort of thing. It was the poor people in Poland that had higher levels of tuberculosis. You switch to India, and the poor people had to work outside, and the rich people got to stay inside in the air conditioning. And guess what? In India, the poor people are the ones that didn't get it. It was the rich people that got tuberculosis. And what's the common denominator between the two places? The ones that were outside are the ones that were the healthiest. Why is that? Well, I found this little jewel right here that I put together way back during COVID. But it's like in the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, Camp Bowie Open Air Hospital in Massachusetts, the mortality rate for patients there fell from 40% to 13% when they were moved outside. Sunlight might have proved to be literally the best disinfectant. They were going through this whole pandemic of the 1918 Spanish flu, and they had these patients at this open air hospital in Massachusetts. And guess what happened? When they started putting them outside, their mortality dropped from 40% to 13% just from going outside. And what did they get when they went outside? Vitamin D. They got vitamin D. It was that simple. It was that simple. They did all the same things. It's like the mortality rate dropped when the vitamin D levels went up, right? So if you're poor or you're rich or you're man or you're woman or you're Mexican or Chinese or white or black or whatever, it doesn't make any difference, right? If you're young or old, how about that? If you're a little kid with all this RSV and all this stuff that's going on, right? It's this bottle right here of vitamin D3. It's 5,000 IUs plus K because you need those two things, right? We buy it from Metagenics, and this might actually be maybe a little bit more expensive bottle. I don't know. I'm sure you could get some cheaper stuff somewhere. We try not to sell cheap stuff at our office, but um, it's $30 for 2 months supply. There's 60 soft gels in here. It's $15 a month. It's 50 cents a day. It's 50 cents a day to take your vitamin D, and it just might make you healthier. Like there's a lot of research that says that it does. And so you don't have to be rich or poor. I mean, you don't have to be rich to have vitamin D levels that are where they're supposed to be. And if you were poor, that might be one reason. It might be one thing that would convict you to say, "Screw you, all rich people." I hear that all the time from poor people, right? They want to tax them to death and take all their money and all the stuff that they're talking about, right? What about all the boys that I grew up with back home? What about the ones from Roswell? That all of us, I was in a double wide mobile home, right? Like we weren't rich when I was growing up. And the cool thing about that, and I thought about that today. The cool thing about it is that we didn't know we weren't rich. Like I thought I was just like all the other kids that we all grew up the same way. Got one pair of shoes every year, had 3 pairs of jeans and 1 pair of slacks. Like had to ask mom if it was okay if we got a chicken fry instead of a hamburger if we ever went out to eat on the times that we very rarely went out to eat. It was like, but the cool thing about it was when I was growing up, I didn't know I wasn't rich. I didn't even know what that meant really. And mom could have bought very simply, she could have got some vitamin D for us. It cost us $2.50 for our whole family a day to have some vitamin D. Like, wow, we could do that. And if, once you get to taking it, you might take one of these every other day. But getting your vitamin D level up is very crucial. Another thing is your vitamin C level. In our office, we use Cyruta Plus. Cyruta Plus is buckwheat. And I think I've told you guys this before. Organic buckwheat, juice powder, organic buckwheat flour, bovine adrenal cytosol extract, and oat flour is what is in this right here. So it's organic buckwheat. Buckwheat is a whole food version of vitamin C. I take this every day that I take my vitamins, and it's almost every day. But I got it in my little pill deal. I got a little, what are the pill box or whatever those things are called. Monday through Sunday through Saturday, 7 days worth. Every Sunday night, I just reload the whole thing, put all the stuff in there, and Cyruta Plus is our version of vitamin C. Now, on the back of this, it's going to say vitamin C 3 milligrams, right? Which is 3% of the daily value. The reason it says that is because from a whole food standpoint, standard process, the government made Royal Lee he said this was vitamin C, and they're like, no, it's not. It doesn't have any vitamin C in it. And he's like, it's vitamin C the way God made it. And he was like, well, you can't say that. That's funny. You can't say that. You have to say it's vitamin C. So he had to actually put some ascorbic acid or whatever in there just to say that he has a vitamin C supplement. But really, it's the synergy is what it is. It's the synergy in there's your vitamin C. Here's my multivitamin. It's called Catalin. Now, these standard process bottles, you can go to therock.standardprocess.com and you can order all this stuff for yourself if you're interested. But or you can call us, or you can come by the office and get it, or you can get it lots of places. But Catalin is our version of a multivitamin. And that's, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Calcium lactate, organic carrot, organic sweet potato, nutritional yeast, bovine adrenal, bovine liver, magnesium citrate, bovine spleen. It's like there's a bunch of stuff in here that's multivitamin, but it's in a synergy standpoint right there. So there's the multivitamin. That's Catalin. And I actually I grabbed a bigger bottle. And then don't forget about our good friend magnesium. Don't forget about your magnesium. It's very important. It's very important for lots of different reactions inside your body. It keeps your muscles calm. It keeps your blood vessels calm instead of them constricting. You constrict your blood vessels, your blood pressure goes up. If you're low in magnesium, you'll end up with high blood pressure. And then that will cause all kinds of problems as well. And of course, you guys understand, you know about your fish oil. I'm not going to get into the fish oil tonight. And if you're inflamed, this is super great. This is the one we use at the house, the Turmeric Supreme. And it's extra strength. So it is 482 milligrams of this proprietary extract blend that we use. This is a great anti-inflammatory combination right here. And what I have found, the Turmeric Supreme and the fish oil together is great for that combination. So, and don't eat your sugar. Stay away from sugar. Stay away from, what does sugar mean? Sugar means glucose, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about glucose and fructose, those two things together. And that's what your body takes, and that's what it does with carbohydrates. So refined carbohydrates is going to make your blood sugar go up fast. It's not just candy bars. It's not just candy bars. When I say stay away from sugar, I'm talking about refined carbohydrates. I'm talking about refined carbohydrates, not just white sugar, because sugar is glucose and fructose. And that's where, like, Robert Kennedy said he's going to get rid of high fructose corn syrup. Well, the stuff that they put in this and about a million other things. A lot of it's in your bread. There's all kinds of high fructose corn syrup and all kinds of things, right? Okay. The corn producers are going to say that's hogwash because it's not any different than sugar. But this right here is 50-50. That's 50-50. And high fructose corn syrup, not only is it made in a lab and it's artificial, but it's also 55% fructose. So they're right. It is almost identical to sugar, which means it's identically bad as sugar is. And that right here, because this right here is going to your liver. That fructose is going to get you. Just listen to Dr. Lustig talk about all that stuff, right? But anytime, this other part's going to get used by all of our cells. And what we need in the glucose realm is we need slow release, time release, easy, slow glucose levels in our bloodstream. Our brain has to have glucose, oxygen, and excitability. Glucose is used by all of our cells in our body. It goes into the whole process of making ATP from the mitochondria that gives us energy. So we need some of it. But when we eat whole foods and when we eat complex carbohydrates, we have a slow timed release insulin. It doesn't go up. That's why I love our guy on Instagram, Insulin Resistant One, so much, on Justin Richards, because he'll show you. When I eat this, my blood sugar stays pretty level. When I eat refined carbohydrates, it goes up and then it crashes. And when it goes up, that's what causes a decrease in immune system function. So this idea that we don't understand. It's like, keep your blood sugar down. Take your vitamin D, and you'll probably just walk yourself right through flu season. And then, because it's almost 100%, all my patients, I ask them when they get the flu, they call in, "Doc, I can't come in today. I got the flu." Okay. And then next week when they come in, I'm like, "Okay, you had the flu last week. Have you been eating a lot of sugar?" "Yep." "Are you taking your vitamin D?" "Nope." Okay, that's cool. I mean, whatever. Whatever. All right. But I know you people, you awesome people that are watching this show right now, You're like, dude, that's me. I'm not eating that sugar. I'm not eating that refined carbohydrate. I'm staying away from those Pop-Tarts and all that stuff. I'm eating my proteins. I'm eating my vegetables. I'm eating my eggs. I'm doing that sort of thing. If I have to have something, I'll have a berry. I'll have a strawberry, or I have a raspberry, or I have a blueberry, which is going to keep the blood sugar lower. I'm going to make sure I'm getting my complex carbohydrates and my proteins and taking my supplements. Great. Okay. All right, let's get into this article I got for you. Food additives and hyperactive behavior in 3-year-olds and 8 and 9-year-olds. Now 8 and 9-year-old children in the community. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. That's as good as you get right there in the research world, right? A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial in the Lancet, September 2007, right? This is a bunch of people right here. Yeah, they're all MDs, PhDs, all that sort of thing. They all did this together, okay? They undertook a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial to test whether intake of artificial food color and additives, AFCA, artificial food color and additives, affected childhood behavior. One time I got so disgusted, I was at the baseball park, and my son was playing Little League Baseball, and I saw a mom buy a Dr. Pepper at the concession stand, and then undo the sippy cup from the little toddler that was in the stroller, and fill the sippy cup up with Dr. Pepper, and then give it to the toddler. And I was like, okay, all right. So they undertook a trial. 153 3-year-olds and 144 8 and 9-year-old children were included in the study. The challenge drink contained sodium benzoate and one of two artificial colors, mixes, A or B, or a placebo mix. The main outcome measure was global hyperactivity aggregate based on aggregated Z-scores and observed behaviors. So they had a way of testing it, right? So the findings. Mix A had a significant adverse effect compared with placebo for this whole thing in 3-year-olds, but not mix B versus placebo. 8 and 9-year-old children showed a significant adverse effect when mix A or mix B. Interpretation. Artificial colors or a sodium benzoate preservative or both in the diet resulted in increased hyperactivity in 3-year-old and 8 and 9-year-old children in the general population. Artificial food colors and other food additives have long been suggested to affect behavior in children. Detrimental effects of these artificial colors and additives on behavior has been in the scientific literature since Ben Feingold published Hyperkinesis and Learning Disabilities Linked to Artificial Food Flavors and Colors in the American Journal of Nursing in 1975. That's why you got to watch out for those folks, because they know it. Every food company in the world knows it. Every food company in America knows it. Every president of every grocery store knows it. Every superintendent of every school district knows it. It's not new stuff. This is a 2007 article, and this is referencing 1975. You put a Coke machine into a school district because you want to pay for your football scoreboard. Yes, don't tell me that hasn't happened, because I know it factually it has, right? We want to make the money, and we're going to put the Coke machine in there with the kids. And what are we going to do? We're going to feed them this stuff. And if you go to the right on the side of the bottle, carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural and artificial flavors, sodium benzoate, caffeine, sodium benzoate right here. There's your Dr. Pepper. It's in your Dr. Pepper. Is it going to be? Is it going to be in my other ones as well? Here's my Coca-Cola. Let's see what it says right here. Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, caffeine, and no, this one doesn't. It just has Coca-Cola didn't have it in there, right? Let's see what our Sprite said right there. Citric acid, natural flavors, sodium citrate, sodium benzoate. There's your Sprite. So I'm not condoning the Coke. It's carbonated water and high fructose corn syrup, but it didn't have it in there. But we did have it in the Dr. Pepper and the Sprite. So what the article is saying, it says that we've known it since 1975. The main putative effect of this is to produce overactive, impulsive, and inattentive behavior, hyperactivity, which is a pattern of behavior that shows substantial individual differences in the general population. Children who show this behavioral pattern to a large degree are probably diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. Exactly. So now, what are we going to do? We're going to let our kids drink this, and then we're going to ask them to sit still in a classroom. And then when the teacher says they can't sit still in the classroom, we're going to diagnose them with ADD, and now we're going to put them on Ritalin. Insanity. That is insanity. That is not health and wellness. If your child has ADD, you should ask yourself, why? Not what do I do about it? Why does my child have ADD? What is the problem? What is going on chemically right there? A recent meta-analysis of double-blind placebo-controlled trials has shown a significant effect of these artificial colors and additives on the behavior of children with ADHD. A meta-analysis of double-blind controlled trials, and that was in Developmental Behavior Pediatrics, 2004. In this study, two active mixes differed both in the quantities and additives, and the specific additives included a mix for 3-year-old children, including 20 milligrams of artificial food coloring. And we talked about one of them last night, Red 5 or whatever, Red 4, 3, whatever. I don't even know them all, right? There's a great conversation. I just looked it up, and there's a great conversation about with RFK Jr. talking about yellow number 5 that's in there. That was that. 5 milligrams sunset yellow, 2 to 5 milligrams of calmosine. I don't know how that is. And tetrazine, that was what he was talking about. 7.5 milligrams of tetrazine. That was the yellow number 5 deal. And then, so it gets into there. So it gets into increasing in our children hyperactivity by feeding them chemicals that are never supposed to be in the body in the first place. Right? And I listened to the president of one of these companies say there's nothing in here that's bad for people. Right? Liars is what they are. Discussion. In this community-based double-blind placebo-controlled food challenge, we tested the effects of artificial food. Yeah, we did that. These findings show that adverse effects are not just seen in children with extreme hyperactivity, but can also be seen in the general population and across a range of severities of hyperactivity. Our results are consistent with those from previous studies and extend the findings to show significant effects in the general population. The effects are shown after rigorous controls of placebo effects and for children with a full range of level of hyperactivity. It's not just the kids. It's not just the kids. It doesn't make a difference if it's the kids or the adults. Now, you see how the combination of the philosophy fits back into the whole thing. Like we take health to church on Monday and then a little bit tonight, and we see when the truth hits us, what are we going to do with it? Right? It's like wait a minute. There's something that's causing me to be non-functional. There's something that's causing this that's happening right there. And maybe it has to do with the way that I'm feeding myself. So the next time you go to the grocery store, ask yourself, are you going to put this in your cart? Are you going to put this in your cart? Are you going to take it home and pour it in a glass or put it in the refrigerator so your kids can drink something that the Lancet says this whole a randomly controlled clinical trial, right? That's the gold standard right there. It's like, look, um, if you want some research, you want to twist it, you want to downplay it, you want to neglect it. No, just let the truth hit you for a second. Let it convict you. Be convicted by it. Be convicted by it, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're man or woman, whether wherever you grew up. If you grew up in Roswell out there in East Grand Plains and lived in a double wide mobile home, let it convict you a little bit. The next time you decide to pour this glass for yourself or pour it for your child, just wonder to yourself, I wonder if there's anything in here that might cause me to act in a way that's incongruent with being the light of the world. And if you'll do that, and you'll start to understand that, your life will be better and your health will be better. I guarantee that. Your life will be better and your health will be better. It's not made up stuff. It's really cool stuff. Hope that was good. If you got any questions, please send me a text, a comment. Send me something in the chat if you want to. Otherwise, you guys have a great evening. That's the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6. And this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. You guys have a great night.